Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my patch 3.2 trailer overview and thoughts. Now this is different from my first reaction video that I did, in case you want to check that out, which, well, that was my first reaction. I took some time to talk about certain aspects of it, like the music, and oh man, let me watch that again. But this is going to be the part where we break it down, we look at some of the fights, we look at some of those potential story elements, and we just try to put the pieces together before we actually know what the answers are. So I'm not going to be playing any audio here. You want to watch the trailer with audio? Obviously, just click in the description of the video below. You should be able to find it. So, let's just get right into it. I'm going to occasionally stop the video if I feel the need to point out a specific mechanic on any of the fights. If you've watched any of my overview and thoughts videos before, this is really no different from that, where I have to do it then. I don't always include my camera, but now a lot of people have been debating whether this is the kid's voice, the one that we met for the Gods of Eld quest, or if it's Alisaie's voice. I'm pretty sure it's Alisaie's voice. I'd be surprised if it wasn't hers. I don't actually remember, and I think they may have changed her voice actor or voice actress anyway. So what we have here, Sephiroth is being set free. He's already kind of unstable, so we're just gonna take him down for the time being. Gives us the "Who are you?" look. Starts the fight here, basic auto attack, and then, cleaves with the other hand. This mechanic right here, I don't know why the video has been freezing. It's been doing that. This mechanic right here, if I had to assume, is probably his, nail phase, or his, heart phase, if you want to compare it to some of the old primals. Where, he summons a bunch of ads, you can see them around the room, and they all charge towards the center. I'm going to assume our responsibility is to kill all these tiny Sephiroths before, before he finishes charging his attack, or we all die. I'd imagine that's just what it is. Also, this attack right here, I don't know if they deliberately all stacked on top of each other. I may assume that this is either a tank buster or it's, an attack that's meant to be split between the party. It looks like he just jumped and smashed everyone. This was really cool. There's not really much to say mechanic-wise here. This looks like the halfway point of his fight, the halfway point, depending on how you look at the super attacks for the primals. So, he comes back up. I'm surprised that they went this far with him, because this is pretty crazy. Didn't expect. Also, the entire arena just gets covered in grass. You can see the little Astro Shield right there, and then boom. So Sephiroth, not really too much to say there. Now the feast, I hate these trailers for PvP because it looks like such scripted PvP. But the arena for the feast, surprisingly big. Obviously it takes place at the same island as the Wolves Den. Also, again, like I said in the first reaction video, really happy to see that you can walk over the coins to pick them up. I was really afraid they were going to force you to channel on somebody to pick up their medals. So I'm really glad to see that that's not the case. Alright, get the limit break. So one thing that people haven't really been pointing out, if you look over there on the left, you see that, I think that's a paladin. He actually broke a supply box and he's picking up a buff over there on the left, while some people are fighting over on the right. That's really why this arena is as big as it is because not only are you going to have the buffs and the debuffs going around, but with the supply crates dropping around the arena and the different opportunities to line of sight people and kite them around, it's actually really good that even with only 4 people that we have an arena of this size, because it means that the battle is likely going to be moving around very, very frequently. So I was really happy with this. Now he picks up the buff and then he runs around the wall for some reason instead of running back over to fight. And then you have culling time right here. That's what the arena changing right here is. Somebody got debuffed and now they're probably going to be the target everyone goes after. I think it's a little distracting PvP-wise to have the arena around like that, and I still don't know why it's stuttering. But it looks pretty badass. And the music in here is also phenomenal. It's like a remix of the basic battle theme. And then we have the Hall of Novice. So we found out that the Hall of Novice is going to be pointed to people around level 15. You can see in the Hall of Novice, you can just kind of barely see it now. But it has the little sproutling thing at the top. And you're going to be sent here, and it's going to teach you the basics of combat. It looks like here they're being taught to to do DPS things. What it really looks like it is it's probably trying to tell them to assist the NPC, not just kill off the ads. It's probably trying to get the DPS to assist. And then there's also an ad that comes out here, and it looks like, they leave to try and go after the ad instead. And then also, as a healer, keeping the tank alive, dodging AoEs. As a tank, holding aggro on multiple targets. And then same thing here. So this looks like the basics. This looks like stuff, and people are pretty worried about whether or not this will replace like guild leaves. Guild leaves are good for, you know, practicing like minor group content and like minor individual things. Like, oh, you may need to attack another target at some point. Oh, you know, there may be multiple groups that you can pull individually. Whereas this is kind of just teaching you basic dungeon etiquette, where it's like, hey, attack the tank, you know, attack the same target the tank is attacking. Oh, you're a tank? You have AoE abilities. Make sure you're using them to hold aggro. If you're unable to hold aggro on multiple enemies in this instance, then you need to work on doing that for other instances. For healers, make sure... I wonder if they're going to have a way to prevent healers from, like, overhealing, because that's a big thing. Like, healers heal every single time the tank loses like 6 HP, or, you know, everyone gets hit and they just start spamming Medica. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be able to teach those things, but hopefully it has some impact. This is Stone Sea Sky, or is it Stone Sky Sea? I don't even remember. It's a new training dummy that will allow us to test our DPS before going into a fight to see if you're up to par. I don't know if it'll be around for the newer fights, but at the very least it'll be around for the old fights, so it's still a good means of improving yourself, of going through the different fights in progression. It's Stone Sky Sea. Okay, Stone Sky Sea. And a lot of people are making fun of this Dragoon for doing their positionals from the wrong side, I think. If I recall correctly. Oh, no, that was a different screenshot that they were doing that. What's after that? The Orchestrion. This is going to be fun. This is just a short little preview. It really play the Papaya song. You're going to be able to collect sheet music from doing different instances, and apparently, one of the things that's going to be happening with the sheet music from the Orchestrion is you can increase the drop rate of the sheet music from certain instances by running it with a minimum item level, which I think is really cool. I think it's an underutilized feature of the game. Yeah, it's nice to have it there for challenges, but without the actual leaderboard to like see who's actually beaten it, who can beat it the fastest, and for little rewards like this, like increasing the drop rate of rare items such as the sheet music, you know, they could, I don't see why they couldn't eventually do that for things like mounts as well, to make it maybe a little bit more fun for some people. Most people will always go for the option that has the least resistance, but it's always nice to have options in the first place. So they're, yeah, cheering them on. What do we have next? Next we have the Nath Beast Tribe dailies. There isn't too much to say. These look like your standard Beast Tribe dailies. You know, Nath Dragonfly mount, which I'm sure, you know, you can see they actually use it for the sake of the quest. Looks like the Nath are going to court this as well. Looks like we're doing a little bit of talk with the goblins. We're leading a wyvern away from something, and they have a shop. Like, there's not really much to analyze about the Nath. Now, the anti-tower, this was awesome. Lots of Pirogos guarding the entrance. You know, the first boss is like a grand Pirogo right here. Turns people into frogs. Looks like he does magic hammer. Confuses people occasionally. We have going into space. We have a springing on a rock, of course. Nothing new with that. Shoots a laser beam at the one person. But it's really the last boss most people... I saw a tether mechanic there targeting somebody. What's most interesting to people is Calcabrina right here, because this is what the Stuff of Nightmares is made of. If you never played Final Fantasy IV, Calcabrina was a boss. The 3 of these are Calcas, and 3 of these are Brinas. And there's actually an achievement in Record Keeper to defeat Calcabrina before they can actually merge. In this case, I don't know how it's going to work, like if it's just you have a certain time limit to deal as much damage as to all the Calcas and Brinas as possible before they merge and they have like their one big health bar. But this was a creepy boss in Final Fantasy IV. It is way creepier here in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, it is like stuff of nightmares. Like I'm not gonna lie. Looks like just a mechanic. It marks someone. Oh, whoops. It looks like it marks someone and then does a giant conal gaze attack in their direction. It didn't look like it did anything to him because he was actually looking right at her. But I'm assuming what you're going to want to do is have the tank in one place and then have a designated spot for people with that mark to go and then look away from her. Or you could just all look away from her, like if someone's not doing it. I'd imagine that you could just do that and just not care. But man, that is a creepy looking character model right there. And then the Lost City of Amdapor hard mode. The remix of the music is beautiful. I've always loved the music and the aesthetic of this place. Very Dark Souls-ish to me, which I love. Giant Beetle. Giant Wamora. Another Wamora, I should say. You know, did a big AoE right there that changed the arena a little bit. Changed the thing. You see a Kraken over there on the right-hand side. statue comes to life, a Chimera rebranding. Looks like there's a lot of light elementals, like there's a crap ton of AoEs exploding, and there were like, see that light elemental right there? It almost looks like the white magic elementals, like light elementals, are like rebelling or something. I don't know. It's really strange because it seems like there's a lot of holiness going on here, but it's like it's trying to kill us. I don't know. It's just so strange. And a ton of AoEs and ton of AoE damage in the fight before this. And then you can see this statue. You can see a lot of Void Scent statues around this statue. Like if you look on the right, you see, well, not right here. You see a Void Scent right over there, a Void Scent statue. You can see one that one's dark. The one on the left is actually light. And then you can see what looks like one of the gargoyles flying around over on the left. A lot of people have pointed out this character looks a lot like Ramza from, is it Ramza? Is it Ramza? I gotta Google it now. What is I gotta remember. So people are saying that it looks a lot. Yeah, it looks a lot like Ramza. A lot of people are saying that he's got very, very similar hairstyle, very similar clothing to Ramza, or at least in one of his outfits. And we have our boy Hildebrand returning, and Godbert just suplexed him what looks like directly out of the sky. Can't wait to find out more about that. Oh man, it hardly even feels like Hildebrand's been gone. But Godbert doing his thing like usual. Always doing his thing. New recipes. So the big thing about the new recipes is, on top of the fact that we'll have Diable High Allergen, which you'll see right here. Yep, there's Diable High Allergen. That's Diable. This is actually, they're in first coil right now, but it's still Diable. Like, it's still Diable High Allergen. Like, that's still the entire point of all the stuff. Weapons, armor, all that stuff. But also some new recipes, which according to Yoshi P will be very useful for beating the raids early on. Looking forward to seeing what the strength of those are, because we were really curious, like the item level and also Diable starter gear. I don't know why I never thought of that. Like that's not a thing. Like I don't know why that never occurred to me. You couldn't dye that stuff. As someone who's not very glamour centric. And also, these are Type 0 hairstyles, someone pointed out. Well, a lot of people have been pointing out. That one actually kind of reminds me of Alan Rickman, God rest his soul. But yeah, those were Type 0 hairstyles, so I wonder if we'll see the rest of those in like 3.3 or something. And then we have Alexander, the one place where people are looking to be like, I wonder if it'll be better this time. It looks better this time, but first of all, every time I see the hand go down, I can't help but think of like, turn down for what? And then it hits. We have Tim and Bob here, Faust. So the big thing with this guy right here, I remember somebody suggesting to me when we got some of the screenshots, it showed a regular sized goblin with white hair, and then we saw the boss, which looks like a bugbear boss. Bugbears in Final Fantasy XI were goblin created slaves. This guy looks like he's full mad scientist mode though, and he just transforms himself in an effort to to defeat you. A lot of people thought he might actually be Dr. Luge, I think that was, from one of the earlier Final Fantasies, where he has him and Barnabas, and they kind of merge together. It looks like he just is a small goblin, becomes a big goblin to me. So this seems less like that, more like Dr. Putricide, if I had to compare it to anything. Good news, everyone. Now, one of the biggest things people are pointing out, so there's a bomb around the room, there's a big lightning AoE, but the big thing is, when the person stepped into the red AoE circle, they turned into a gorilla. And we're going to assume that the gorilla is actually responsible for moving these bombs. It looks like in the four corners of the room, there's disposal units for the bombs. On top of the lightning rod in the middle of the room, which seems to be emitting an AoE. On top of that, there's a blue AoE circle over on the right. I actually think that blue AoE circle might be for cleansing the gorilla. It's either going to cleanse the gorilla status, or it's going to transform you into something else. I don't know. But instead of Gobwalker duty, we now got gorilla duty. I like it. So he turns to gorilla. We don't actually see them do anything. Also, he just... I don't know, when he it did it again. When he grows to that size, he almost looks like he lost his shirt at some point. Like, he didn't look like he lost his shirt when he first transformed, but right there he looked like he did. And he did a knockback. Anytime there's a knockback in a fight, I can't help but think that there's something really bad can happen to you. Like, you can fall off the arena, the wall is deadly. Like, every fight that has AoE, I can't help but think that. So, that's another thought that I have here. And then they're moving through the second boss here in Alexander. A lot of people have had questions for me if this is the second boss and then the final boss they show, if it's like the actual second boss. I'm pretty sure that the second boss is another gauntlet type boss, but it's these enemies, like it's 4 of these enemies that you see right here that look like slight remodels of the ads from like turn 4, the soldier and the clockwork soldiers, the clockwork enemies. But they seem to all do slightly different things. Like this one dropped a bunch of clones that then started fixing him. The only thing is it looks like the battles are a little segmented, so it might be like battle at Big Bridge style, but you still need to defeat all 4 of them before you can move on. It's probably got a time limit, of course. Every fight has a time limit, has an enrage. I'm assuming this one's no different. You got to get through all 4 of them before time is up. This one looks like he, like, what's it called, switches weapons, and then it looks like he drains power from everyone right there. I don't know if he drained health, if he drained mana, if he drained any resource, or if there's just like some sort of mechanic where he's like drawing power. Everyone looked like they were slightly spread out from each other, and he didn't do it to everyone. He did it to what looks like 5 people, and the other 3 people were not affected by it. So I'm wondering if this is like Nisi 2.0 or something like that, but like a completely different way of it working. Just some sort of passable debuff or AoE debuff that you need to spread out for. And another thing to point out is the arena's floor. You couldn't see it very well. Let me go back. The arena's floor actually goes up and down. You can see it adjusting right now that the arena's floor is going up and down. And then this guy just drops a bunch of fire on the ground, and then this guy does like a giant AoE that hits everyone. Then we move on to the next section into the Goblin City. Now this is Quick Think's All Talks, and I can't help but feel like that's Dr. Robotnik's egg carrier right there, and you're gonna see why. But first we can already see. So it looks like in this square room there's a circle in the center, and there's spikes coming out of the ground. It looks like also there's probably 4 squares in the 4 corners of the room. And it also looks like in this center part, like there might be holes in the ground for spikes to come out of as well. But I don't know if it ever shows spikes coming out of these holes in the middle of the ground. It just looks like that's possible. We also have this giant, what looks like a ball. I'd assume it's a bomb because they're goblins, but it looks like a bomb. Also, you can see Quick Thinks' cat here in the front. Look at it prance over to the left. So I'm actually going to assume that there's some like big, I'm going to insta-kill you mechanic, but if you go stand next to his cat, he won't fire. Like, I'm just going to assume that like that's a thing, because he seems to like his cat. Quick Thinks seems to like his cat. And so the cat prances over there, looks back, whatever. And then here, it looks like he grabs, does he grab the cat or does he grab a person? It's hard to tell. I can't really see. He grabs something, and he's dragging it away. It looks like he might have dragged his cat. I can't really make it out entirely. But, looks like, no, he grabbed a person, and he's dragging them to one of the 4 corners of the room, and the spikes are up in the ground. You can also see a doll over, you can also see 2 dolls, there might be more, on the left and right hand side, and then he drops a bunch of bombs that chain to people and then start chasing them. Whatever that ends up doing, no idea, but this was the big moment that everyone got excited for. Looks like it's a sort of manipulator in the middle of the room, like it's got the 4 legs and it's got that. What I'm going to assume happens is he does this also him lifting something very Robotnik-esque, you know, like how it can pick you up and carry you and whatnot. So it looks like here, I'm going to assume Quick Thinks gets away in A7 Savage, and then he retreats here like in a very Robotnik-esque manner. And then this is supposed to be, you know how like I think it's Sonic, I think it's in Sonic, well in Sonic I think 1 and 4. It's either in Sonic 1, 2, or 4. It's not in Sonic 3. Where he's just in the giant, you know, robot, like the giant egg robot. He does it in like a shit ton of games, Dr. Robotnik or Eggman, whatever he's called now. Where he runs away and he gets into an even bigger machine. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen here, and it looks like these are probably the 4 bosses that we beat back in A2 Savage as well. Looks like they all come together and form Voltron, or you can call them the Gobby Rangers, whatever you want to call them. And then you can see a quarantine hole in the background, kind of, if I go back. You can see a quarantine hole in the background, because we are in the shoulder again. We're in the other burden. But this also looks like a phase transition. This doesn't look like the start of a fight. That looks like it's either the start of a fight and that's just how it starts, or it was a phase transition and there was something we missed there. And I also think that's the first time they've ever shown us all 4 bosses of a raid before, you know, the patch came out. Because I'm thinking back to, we didn't know who Twin Tanya was back in First Coil in the teasers. We never saw, we saw a teaser of Nail Deus Darnus for turn 9, but we didn't actually see, like, the full fight. We didn't see Bahamut, but most people figured it out. We didn't see Living Liquid or the Manipulator in this tease. Like, it's just strange to see the last boss. It's the first time where we've seen the actual raid's final boss, supposedly, in this scene. And then the final thing going on here, there's more Dragon Song lore stuff. I think that this girl is in some shit. I don't know. This isn't the girl who got rescued before. If it was, I would have guessed that because she got rescued by dragons, someone's trying to execute her. It's either she's in some deep doo-doo, or she's crying at the speech. Like, it's one of the two things. I don't think she's crying at the speech, so she's probably about to be put to the axe or something. Matoya starts telling people about how they need to kill, die, and give themselves up. Now, this is... What is this? Why are we standing against Raubon here? He's only got one arm. He knows what we can do. That's us. That's not the Warrior of Darkness. That's Derplander. And there's fire everywhere. So, something bad is happening. Maybe Nanamo was like a fake. I doubt that. Maybe he learned of some other plot for Ul'dah. We're trying to stop him from just murdering everyone. And he thinks we're standing in his way. Maybe he's being possessed by a crystal of darkness because of his, angst against the whatever they're called, the syndicate. I don't know. Something crazy is happening here with no explanation. And then, so that scene I've actually spoken about before. I think that Alphino and Alice are probably sitting down to talk in this scene right here. I mentioned that in the little screenshot that we saw before. In this scene, I don't know what's going on. He just punches him in the face. And, I mean, obviously they're arguing about something, because isn't that the brother who's like a complete coward? I think that's the brother who's a complete coward. So, I wouldn't be surprised for Thangred to just be fed up with his shit. And then finally here, okay, so this is what I think the final meaning of the artwork, where you see Minfilia chained to Hydaelyn. What we're probably going to find out is that Minfilia is actually chained to Hydaelyn's will, and is her physical embodiment now. And therefore, Minfilia is as much as Hydaelyn is, trying to help us and ensure the safety of the world, we're probably going to try to find a way to free Minfilia from Hydaelyn's grasp, because it looks like she's being almost held captive by Hydaelyn. And we just get sent away by Minfilia. Minfilia, with Hydaelyn's words, sends us away. And, the story continues. And then we get this final bit of the trailer right here, where we see the gears, and we see its gears that change. And overall, this is probably my favorite trailer. It doesn't do much to break the mold, which is the big thing with Final Fantasy XIV. Hall of Novice, great for new players. Mentor system, great for new and veteran players. Gives them something else to do, right? Helps kind of build the community, which I think they understand is what keeps this game strong. Diadem changes are going to be interesting to look forward to. Tank changes are going to... a lot of the most interesting things are not in the trailer because they can't be shown via the trailer. The tank changes, the materia changes, the way that the item level changes for gear, changes to the animal weapon. The new animal weapon probably won't be till 3.25 or 3.3, but there's so many things that aren't accurately represented here, and this feels like such a small part of the patch. But it also doesn't show people what they're doing to break the mold outside of, more interesting or just, more support of PvP, which I think is for the better of the health of the game. I know a lot of people don't care about PvP in Final Fantasy XIV, but I mean, hey, if there's a community for it, you can't ignore it, right? And the community for PvP, I feel, has been growing. There's a lot of people who are very anxiously waiting for the feast, and for it to bring some level of competitiveness that Seal Rock, while it is fun, doesn't really fulfill it all that much. And a lot of us are also just looking for a battleground that doesn't require Grand Company lockouts. There's so many things I have to say about this patch and so little time. We're already 24 minutes in, so I think we're going to wrap this one up. Let me know what your thoughts were on the mechanics we saw in the video, about the story elements we saw in the video. Be sure to put it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and I will see you all in the next Final Fantasy XIV or whatever video. Until then, take care.